Good morning, lovely people. How are you all doing today? I hope you are well. I'm okay, still in this horrible nightmare of you know what. And I've had a really bad leg week this week. So I'm just going to get this food underway and then we'll retreat to the front room to sit down for our natter today. Yeah, I don't know what my legs have been about this week, but just so sore, just can't get comfy. Okay, so this morning I'm going to make a chilli. So already done the onions and 2 massive lumps of garlic, cloves, lumps, have gone in and they've sweated down for 5 minutes. Then I've got a punnet of mushrooms, 250 grams I think, that I've chopped quite fine. So this is as a substitute. Now obviously, normally you'd be saying it's a substitute for meat. I've substituted that my entire life. So normally for chilli I would use TVP, textured vegetable protein. That's what it was called in the 80s. Dry soya mince. So buy it dry, it stores for ages, rehydrate it, use that. Or in more recent years, Quorn. But I'm just using mushrooms all the time these days because they're cheaper than Quorn, and obviously considerably, well, there's no processing. You buy mushrooms that there's no processing, whereas Quorn is, you know, highly processed. So yeah, I'm just really loving using mushrooms at the moment. Oh, don't put your lid on, Vivi. Just talking and cooking. As a substitute for soya or Quorn. So they will get going, and then I've got a tin of tomatoes, a tin of kidney beans, I've got some hot water ready for swilling out my tomato can. Just going to get the heat right up for these mushrooms. So what I found is get the heat right up for a couple of minutes with the mushrooms, and they'll shrivel down, but they'll kind of keep their juiciness, if that makes sense. Then add my spices. And there's a little story to the spices I'm adding today. So I don't have any chili powder. I've realised I don't have any chili powder, so I'll be using chili flakes instead. Some cumin, a good old favourite, I need to put that on the shopping list. And some smoked paprika, that gorgeous warmth. So these 3, that's going to be my chilli. Now, I've chosen these because going back a couple of years, summer of 22, 2.5 years ago now, and I got COVID, and I was so poorly with it. I was positive for 14 days. The first week I pretty much didn't get out of bed, but then in the second week I was sort of getting up each day and trying to sort of get back to normal, but still really poorly. But I couldn't go out, couldn't do any shopping because I was positive. And I suddenly remembered I had a Tesco delivery account which I had set up maybe 10 years before for Auntie Teapot. So when I was in London, I'd come home from a nursing shift, say Monday night, 10:30 at night, and I put an order in to arrive on Wednesday afternoon. I'd go back to work on Tuesday, come home late Tuesday night, and then on Wednesday I'd go down to Auntie Teapot's for Wednesday and Thursday. So I'd be there to, I think that might be enough. So turn the heat right back down again. Yeah, so I'd be there to receive the delivery and then also cook, spend the afternoon cooking, fill up her fridge and freezer again, brilliant. So I remembered I had that, and I used it to make an order from my local Tesco's, and all I could face was soup. And I bought a soup, I can't remember the name of it, I think it might be called tomato and bean chili soup, I can't remember the exact name. But it was gorgeous. It was one of the, you know, ones that you get in the fridge in the chiller cabinet. So not a tin soup, a sort of a fresh soup. Right, I think a teaspoon of chili flakes. It was really gorgeous, and they still sell it. So a few weeks ago I went and looked. I got it out of the chiller and I was looking at the ingredients. I wanted to see which spices had been used, because I think it was that I enjoyed in the soup. I mean, I love tomatoes and beans. They're going in this dish, but it was specifically which spices had gone into this soup. And it was these three: chilli, cumin, teaspoon, and smoked paprika. Excuse me. So yeah, I'm just going to give these a try today. See how it goes, and it's one of those things where one might adjust the amounts. Suck it and see. The reason I didn't put the spices in right at the beginning with the onions, as you might sort of expect normally, that smoked paprika, it's beautiful, is because I whacked that heat up for the mushrooms. I don't want to burn the spices. Let's be respectful of our spices. Right, in can now go the tomatoes. I mean, it's virtually another store cupboard, isn't it? Apart from the tomatoes. Right. Swishing it around. So this, like I said, it's just some hot water with a tiny bit of stock added to get the last of the tomatoes out. Yeah, it's virtually a store cupboard. So I suppose if you had your dry soya, or you had some Quorn in the freezer, yeah, it would be a store cupboard. Knock it up, and then I'm just going to let it bubble away. That's kidney beans. They were rinsed and drained. I just popped them back into their tin can rather than into a bowl for prettiness and create more washing up. Because, like I said, this isn't really a cooking video. I'm just going to get this underway. Yeah, I'll just leave that alone. It smells lovely already. Just check, yeah, it's on a really, really low heat. So I'm just going to leave that alone for 20 minutes or half an hour. Well, 20 minutes, check it. And I think it might be nice, but then probably what I'll do, the usual thing that I do, is turn the heat off, but leave the lid on and just let it, you know, carry on getting more and more and more gorgeous. Because it's for dinner tonight, so I'm not in any hurry to get it made and finished. I just wanted to do it now at the start of the day, because mentioning that my knees have been absolute blighters this week. By the evening, they're so, I don't want to be standing up in the kitchen, so get it done now, get it out of the way. And okay, let's retreat to the drawing room for a sit and a natter. Oh, that's better. Yeah, I definitely need to be sitting down at the moment. Did I just set an alarm? Sorry, let me just check. I've just set an alarm for my to go and check on my food, because otherwise I'll totally forget. So just to recap that really quickly, it's dead simple. 1 onion, finely chopped, as much garlic as you like. I've put loads in. That's probably the equivalent of about 4 or 5 standard cloves, but they were massive. Onion, garlic, then whatever you're using as your mince substitute, so 250 grams maybe of dried soya, or of Quorn, or in my case mushrooms, a tin of tomatoes, a tin of red kidney beans, and then the magic bit is a teaspoon each of chilli, cumin and smoked paprika. Oh, can't wait to get my chops around that later. And for serving, I will probably have it either with rice, or if I can't be bothered to make any rice this evening, whichever I do, I will certainly have it with a couple of tablespoons of lovely, cold, fresh, yummy cottage cheese. I love cottage cheese on my chili. You know, creme fraiche, all of that sort of, it's that lovely cool and warm contrast, isn't it? Not just in the temperature of the foods, but the sort of taste. So you've got all that, the spiciness, the warmth from the spices, and then that cool, clean thing from the cottage cheese. Right, my lovelies, so what's been going on? First of all, this jug, oh, it's so beautiful. I bought it from my shop. I've mentioned before that I'm a bit of a jugs and bowls. I love jugs and bowls because they're so practical, so many uses. And I've said a number of times how when I went out recently on the hunt for items for my shop, and I found this jug, and it's gorgeous. Look at around the whole rim. I love it. I mean, it's so 30s, isn't it, with that beautiful angle on the handle. It just screams 30s. I mean, it's amazing to think that that is 90 plus years old. It's beautiful. And I was thinking, and just things like the I don't know if it'll pick up, but just how the lip is just picked out in that lovely sort of pale duck egg blue. Beautiful. What I love about this jug is it's big enough for custard, custard for 4, milk in the morning on the morning table, but also as a vase. And my problem with buying things for my shop is I never want to part with anything, but I'm really good and I do. However, this one, there's a bit of a crack in the handle. You can't see it. You can't see it at all with the naked eye. You can only see it when it's wet. Whenever I buy ceramics, I always give them the water test. So that got filled with hot water. I leave it to stand. Then I can see inside if there are any sort of little hairline cracks, if there's a bit of crack in the glaze. Sometimes it's not the ceramic that's cracked, it's just the glaze, but you can see the water then can get under the glaze and you get a shadow. No, it's perfectly watertight, but the handle, it's so annoying. So I think that can only be used as a vase. I wouldn't trust it. I mean, with nothing in it, I wouldn't trust it to pick it up, especially if it had something hot in it like custard. So it's possible, I'm trying to justify it, it's possible, look at this shape, isn't it gorgeous, that I'm going to justify keeping that one for once. And I'll use it there as a vase. A little splodge of paint there that I didn't get off when I was cleaning it. Yeah, so I think I'm going to have to keep that. It's a shame. Obviously I buy to sell. I don't need stuff. So what I can do to justify that, justifying it to myself, is perhaps have another look through my own possessions and think, right, what can I get rid of? Either find something of my own to put in the shop to sell, or find something of my own that I can give away to a charity shop or a junk shop, or this was more like a sort of little flea market type setup, so it wasn't for charity. But yeah, that's what I can do. I can find something to get rid of, either to sell in my own shop, or anyway, that's the point. I'm justifying it. I'm so gutted. It's one of the things with ceramics, I give everything the flick, the ping test, and I could hear that the body of the jug was fine. I had absolutely no doubts that it was going to be, watertight. But there we go. Sometimes it's just invisible to the naked eye and you got to suck it up, buttercup. Right. So, I thought, entertainment. I've got a rant. I've watched a couple of DVDs which I'll share with you. One of them which I think a lot of you actually won't know of. One of them which I think all of you will know of. But yeah, just recently, right, 2 things. This winds me up. Actors on screen, whether it's a TV drama or in a movie, taking a tablet and then doing this. I can hardly do it because of my neck, but you're taking a tablet and going to show they're swallowing it. So you give them a tablet, give them a glass of water. Nobody does that. Nobody does that in real life. Where have actors got that from? It's an absolute cliche. Take a tablet, knock your head back. It's like, imagine, giving someone a piece of chocolate. You put chocolate in your mouth, knock your head back. You don't eat like that. You don't. That's not how people swallow. Stop doing it. It's annoying. Yeah, I had an evening's entertainment where I think it happened about 3 times. And I thought, okay, picture yourself and like in the morning when I take my vitamin supplements, I take my vitamin D and I take my vitamin K because you need vitamin K with your vitamin D, D3, K2, whatever. So when I get up, I pop them in my mouth. I get my jug, I get my cup of water. So I've got my supplements in my mouth. Gone. I don't think my head moved, did it? And in all the, you know, I was going to say with the kids and their medicines when I was working, I mean, a lot of it was intravenous, the majority. But when they're getting to the stage where we want to get them home again, all their meds get transferred onto oral. We have to make sure they're able to take their medication orally. And again, I have never seen a child throw their head back taking a tablet. Why do actors do it? It's a bit of cliched nonsense. It's not truthful and it annoys me. Anyway, there we go. That's the first part of my rant. Now on to a fun thing. I've finally started watching, and I know loads of you will have seen it already. I know Richard and Paul really liked it, but it's now available. I found it's available to stream online on demand for free. Yes, there are adverts, and no, you can't skip the adverts, but when the ads come on, get up, do your physiotherapy, do some exercise, dance for 3 minutes, whatever it is, put a cup of tea on, do the washing up. So I've started watching Whitstable Pearl, and I'm really enjoying it. I've watched 2 episodes so far. I might binge another couple tonight. So for those who don't know, it's a sort of detective show. It's gentle. There is a copper, a detective in it, but our central character, Pearl, played by Kerry Godliman, who I love. I've got a girl crush on Kerry Godliman. I want her to be my best mate. She plays the owner of an oyster restaurant in Whitstable, which is the North Kent coast, a stone's throw down the coast from Auntie Teapot's place. So I know Whitstable pretty well, and it was on my radar for house hunting when I was house hunting. It's too expensive for me. It's like London prices. But anyway, so Pearl, and Whitstable is famous for its oysters. There's lots of oyster catchers there, or oyster dealers, oyster farms. I showed you actually, didn't I, in that video where my sister and I went to collect Auntie Teapot's ashes and take her on her final road trip. We went to Whitstable. That's where we had our chips on the beach, and I showed you there's that great mountain of old oyster shells. So yes, Pearl is an oyster restaurant owner, but she's also on the side a private detective. It's fun, and it's fun to see a woman in that kind of role. So yes, I started watching that, and I'm enjoying it so far. Partly because I recognise, you know, all the places where they're filming. I recognise them. It's kind of like home from home almost. There's one slight thing, and this is where I'm going to kind of have a slight sideways rant. Won't do it too long, promise. The detective in it, the guy, obviously you've got to have a girl and got to have a guy. Ooh, love interest. So he's a bit quiet and surly, and it turns out we don't really know much about him yet. I've only watched episodes 1 and 2, but it turns out that his wife has died, and he doesn't like people, doesn't like talking. And I just thought, oh, not another one. Not another male character who's moody and interesting because, oh, I'm so hurt from the past. Now, listen, don't think I'm cynical in real life in terms of with real people. Obviously, it's sad when someone loses their partner, of course. Let's just have that as a given. So I just thought, oh, it's becoming a bit too common. Anyway, I thought, never mind, let's move on. So I watched that. And also this last week the return of Bergerac, which was a show in the 80s. I never watched it. It was a show for mums. In that era, it was our mums who watched it, with John Nettles, who, honestly, I mean, bless him, but you can't act his way out of a paper bag, can he? He's got 2 facial expressions, and they're pretty much the same. But it was back, and I thought, with a new cast, a new kind of style to it, I thought, well, I'll have a watch, because if it's set on Jersey, then hopefully we're going to see a lot of the sea. It should be. And it's got Zoe Wanamaker in, and I love Zoe Wanamaker. I think I managed 5 minutes, and then I got a huff. I said, oh God, this ain't worth it. 2 things. 1, what's with this whisper acting? It's like, if I whisper, if I only half voice my lines, it's going to sound really important. It's going to sound more dramatic. Oh, this kind of... What? And it's not even whispering as in doing an aside, as in, I'm going to whisper slow, I'm going to whisper quietly so you can still hear what I'm saying, but we know that I don't want to be caught saying it. It's not that kind of whispering, it's this, how can I say, to be or not to be? That is the question. It's this kind of unvoiced, only allowing half the air to come out. Stop it! I tell you who does it loads, and hence I stopped watching it after a while, is I used to also be a fan of Law and Order SVU. I really liked it in the early days. I liked Munch and Tutuola. They were the great characters. But then Liv Benson, she kind of took over the squad room. She's captain, but also I think she took over producing the show. She has so many scenes. It will get better. I've been there. I know. I understand. Trust me. It will get better. It's like, stop it. You're not... Meryl Streep doesn't do it, does she? Meryl Streep doesn't need to do any of that nonsense, cliched rubbish that so many actors are doing these days. Meryl Streep doesn't need to do it because their acting is good enough. So anyway, Bergerac starts with all this whispering nonsense and earnestness. Do they think it makes them sound more earnest? But also, guess what? It's another male detective character who's messed up because of his relationship with his wife, or I think his wife has died. It's another one. And I'm getting blimmin' fed up with it because I tell you for why. Rant alert. It kind of started with Gibbs in NCIS. And we've also got it in Jessie Stone. Now, both of those programmes I have watched and enjoyed over the years, despite this character thing, despite it. I possibly enjoyed it more if they hadn't had that. But we have these male characters, these central, the star character, who are surly, moody, rude, frankly, and abusive to their colleagues. And it's all like, well, I'm allowed to behave in this appalling way because I'm hurt. So with Jessie Stone, he's got divorced, and it's like, yeah, well, I'm so hurt, I'm allowed to be horrible to everyone. And, excuse my vulgarity now, I'm going to be a bit vulgar with the word I use, they're allowed to shag every woman they ever meet, and they'll keep shagging all these women, and they might keep a woman going for 4 or 5 months, just doing her all the time, and then the woman wants to get close, naturally, after that, but he says, oh no, I did warn you, you're not going to get anything from me, you're going to get no commitment, you're going to get no closeness, because I'm hurt, because I'm damaged and hurt. No, well, you might be damaged and hurt, but actually what you are is you're a user and an abuser. And it just seems to be creeping into so many of these kind of cop, detective, NCIS-y type dramas these days, that you've got this central male character who is horrible to everybody, who is really quite abusive towards women, but he says, well, it's okay, because I warned you I'm not nice because I'm hurt. Yeah, enough. I'd love to see, a central character in these detective shows, the boss of the gang, who's a woman who's married. And guess what? Happily married. And she's not having an affair, and her husband isn't having an affair, but actually they just get on with their jobs. And some people may say, oh, well, there'd be no drama in that, and you might be right, but can we have a different drama to these blimmin' self-indulgent male characters who are acting like toddlers? If they don't get what they want, they have a hissy fit. They take, and never give. I know they're just characters. Vivi, don't get so het up. But I just think it's just sending a message out to other people that it's okay to be like this, and it's not. Right, I've had my rant. Okay, couple of DVDs. How long have I got left on my alarm before I need to check the food? So, okay, one that I'm sure the vast majority of you have watched, Legends of the Fall. I thought I'd seen it. I sat down to watch it and I realised within a few minutes, I've never seen this film. So it's from, did I write down the date? The 90s? It's like 94, 95. It's a similar time period to A River Runs Through It. And maybe that's why I thought I'd seen it. And also because it's got Brad Pitt in it. And also because it's set in Montana. River Runs Through It, set in Montana. Not filmed in Montana. I think it was filmed in, it was Canada. It's filmed in Canada. So, well, it was interesting looking at it, realising I hadn't watched it. Quite very simply, it's the story of a man, Anthony Hopkins, his 3 sons, and they live out in the middle of nowhere in Montana. They did have a mum, there was a wife, but she couldn't stand the harsh winters. She didn't like living in the middle of nowhere, so she's moved back to whatever city. He's bringing up his 3 sons. And, oh, brothers, you know, ooh, let's Josh and Jake, let's tousle each other's hair. Again, it's full of cliches. And then the youngest son comes home with, he's been away at university, comes home with his fiancée, and she's this beautiful, young, fresh, gorgeous girl. Like, right from the beginning, oh, here we go. So basically, all 3 brothers are going to fall in love with one girl. Oh, how's that going to end? I know, I'm sounding more cynical by the minute. Look, it's probably obvious. What a load of rubbish. What an absolute load of rubbish. A River Runs Through It is gorgeous. And the words at the end, and it just, it stays with you for a while. It feels like it means something. This is just Mills and Boon, maybe for boys. The scenes at the beginning of the First World War, I find that sort of stuff unbearable to watch, so I'll just give you a heads up. There is stuff at the beginning set in the war, and it's sad. But yeah, it's another one of these central male characters. Brad Pitt plays in this almost an identical character to the one in A River Runs Through It. You know, he doesn't abide by the rules. He doesn't live by anybody else's rules. Oh, he's rogue, and oh, he's fascinating because he's so rogue. Kind of like Gibbs in NCIS. Oh, doesn't listen to the rules. That makes him a really interesting man, and every woman wants him. Women falling at his feet. Yeah, oh, that's the alarm. Hang on a sec. I promise you, the next DVD I loved. Hang on. Wow, taste test. I could probably do with about half the amount of paprika and chilli. That's quite hot. That's okay. I will still eat and enjoy it. And, sorry, excuse me. Oh, my nose is on fire. Especially with the cottage cheese, that will mellow it. But, woo! But it's good. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy that tonight. Right, yes, I'll just finish quickly with Legends of the Falls. The notes I made, what is it about? Rage, unrequited love, jealousy, sibling rivalry, PTSD. Everyone, so my final summation of it was, everyone is angry, everyone is experiencing unrequited love, no one gets a happy ending. Yeah, I just thought it was... It's just, yeah, Mills and Boon. I mean, the performances were all good. There's nothing wrong with the direction. It's just the story. It's just the story was, The whole thing was one long cliche. We've seen it all before. Now, for something completely different, and I might get emotional. I think this film is going to stay with me for quite some time. It never had a cinema release. It was actually on the BBC, so some of you may have seen it on there. It should have been at the cinemas. I picked it up because of one word in the title. I saw the word Windermere in the title on the spine, and I thought, oh, what's that? Sorry, hang on a tick. Yeah, I saw the word Windermere on the title. So for those who don't know, in the UK, in the far, far northwest of England, it's the last bit of England before we go into Scotland. We have an area, the county is called Cumbria, but it's affectionately known as the Lake District because there are lots of lakes there, lakes and mountains. It's all lakes and mountains. I can't remember whether Windermere is the largest of the lakes. I think it quite possibly is. I mean, it's not like the Great Lakes in America. I don't mean that kind of large. Yeah, it's a beautiful area. It's an area of outstanding natural beauty. Apart from tourism, otherwise it's an area of hill farmers. So remember, what's his name? I've got it in the shop again. The James Rebanks, The Shepherd's Life. He's a hill farmer up on the hills in Cumbria. So when I saw Windermere, I thought, oh, brilliant. I feel like a bit of nature, a bit of outsidey stuff. So it's called The Windermere Children. You see that? Oh, hang on, I forgot to turn the alarm. That's the snooze button too. But I don't need to snooze. I've turned the heat off, so it's just sitting in the pot. It's continuing to cook down a bit. The Windermere Children. It's based on a true story, true events and true people. In a nutshell, it's the story of 300 children and young people, right from sort of toddlers right up to sort of late teens. Jewish kids who were liberated from some of the death camps. So, yes, it's a difficult one. And these are kids who, at this stage, there's no trace of parents or any other family. So they were brought over to Windermere to a camp. I can't remember what the camp had been. I think it was a munitions work or something during the war. So it starts in August 1945. So the war has just over. And imagine it's like a sort of almost like a summer camp. So there's sort of rows and rows and rows of sort of almost like sheds, I suppose, but each kid has their own room. And the idea is to bring these kids over to the UK and help try to start to rehabilitate them, you know, get them fed and healthy again, get them into society again. God, it's hard. It's just the most beautiful film. Like I said, it's going to stay with me a long, long time. The film starts, it's the evening, the kids have been travelling all day, they're on a bus, they arrive at this camp and they get off the buses and they come into the camp, and of course we, the viewer, can see what's going on and why this might not sit right with the kids is, hang on, they're being herded into these huts, they're being asked to undress, remove their clothes, they're being looked at by doctors, their clothes are being taken away to be, well, the kids don't know. And it's just beautifully played. The cast, the young cast are a fantastic, unbelievable young cast. Everything, I'm finding it hard to express. It's a stunning film. Stunning. It should be on cinema release, like I said. But all the kids, there's no... That first half an hour or so of the film where they're arriving and they're settled... Well, settling in, sort of. Their faces, these child actors are conveying so much horror. It's like, how can these kids be doing this? How can these actors be doing this? But they are. So yeah, so it's a 4-month. They only have. It's been financed. I think monies have been raised. They only have money to do it for 4 months, and of course, 4 months, a lifetime isn't enough to rub out the experiences these kids went through. So there's some pretty dark stuff. There's some really, really traumatic, awful stuff. But what's beautiful about it is, ultimately, this is a film about hope and the ability of humans to overcome, and it's about patience as well. And I won't give the end away. I'm going to get weepy thinking about it, but it's happy weepy. I won't give the end away, but the end moment. I mean, I don't think I breathed for an hour and a half watching this film. I was utterly transfixed, utterly. But in the very last moment, I sort of went, oh, yes, oh. I won't tell you why. Watch it. And if you can't find a copy anywhere, maybe one day I'll tell you why. That was the ending for me. But yeah, if you can get it. So I found this in the charity shop, and I thought, why have I never heard of this? So I immediately went online to look it up. That's when I discovered it had been a film shown on BBC, I think BBC Two, January 2020. When was it? 2020, 21. So it's relatively recently, but it's sort of buried in the schedule. And then I looked on eBay to see if I looked on eBay, and put it this way, there are about 7 copies of it on eBay. Normally, if you look up a video DVD on eBay, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. There were 7 copies, and I thought, wow, you know, it's obviously not that known. It's not really out there. So I'm going to put it out there. An astonishing child cast. I love it. It was, yeah. Traumatic in moments, horrific, utterly horrific, of course, what these kids went through, what the adults who survived, what they went through. I mean, we think we know how awful, and then every now and again we get to watch a film or read a book or something, and it reminds us that we have no idea how awful. We have no idea. But yeah, like I said, it is a film about hope. And for everything about this film, I highly recommend it. The script, who wrote the script? Simon Block, writes for TV, lots of neat. But what I loved was none of it was hurried. The pace of the film is quite slow. There are moments of silence, which are just perfect. It's not, you know, filled with dialogue all the time, and action, and it's quiet. It's actually, it feels like a really small, humble little British film. And, you know, that's what it is. But it should be a huge film. Anyway, if you can get a copy of Windermere Children, yeah, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Everything about it in my book, you know, the script, the cinematography, the direction, the kids in the cast, everything was perfection in it. So yeah, so I think I'm going to leave it there today on a note of perfection, and I just want to go and have a bowl of my chilli. It is really hot chilli, definitely a hot one, but that's okay. Next time I'll make it a bit cool. I'll calm it down a bit, so maybe half a teaspoon of the paprika and the chilli. The cumin can take a teaspoon, but maybe half a teaspoon of the others. But yeah, anyway, that's tonight's supper, so I shall try and ignore. It smells gorgeous. The smell is wafting from the kitchen. I'm trying to ignore it. I will see you all really soon. I'm not sure for what. I'll probably be ranting about something again, because let's face it, we all rant, don't we? And we all need to. If we don't have a rant about things every now and again, it all... And you know, yes, I know there are much, much, much worse things going on in the world than actors taking a tablet and throwing their head back to signify that they've taken the tablet. Of course I know that. Let's just rant about the little stuff, because if we rant about the big stuff, we'll all be in tears and we'll be here all day, because it's just too hideous to even start to think about. So anyway, small stuff. Let's rant about the small stuff and enjoy wonderful small films, which are huge, actually. Until the next one, lovelies, cheerio.